Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Okay.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Herold here on Badlands Media. I'm your host, Jon Herold, and yeah, this is pre-recorded, and I apologize. We're heading out of town this afternoon, going down to Florida. I will be doing the rest of my shows this week live as usual. This is the one that is going to kind of interfere with flights. I did talk to Ash about it and offer her the opportunity. It just didn't quite work out. And it's probably not that great of an opportunity anyway. But in the future, you know, maybe I'll have somebody else cover it live to interact with the chat. And I'm not going to lie, I will miss you guys. That is for sure. But it is what it is right now. So I do have a bunch of stories I want to go through. Plenty to discuss. Will be probably less rambling on my end, more just news topics and whatnot. But we'll see what happens. Okay, we'll see what happens. Let's get things kicked off with a little Loaded Gun Coffee. How's that sound? Loaded Gun Coffee. You guys are very familiar with these folks. They've been longtime supporters of Badlands, and you may have even met them in person at a GART. But did you know they are a veteran-ran, family-owned shop in Lake Havasu, Arizona? Every bag of their whole bean coffee delivers a high-octane, patriotic punch of flavor. With a long family history of commitment to freedom, every bag is a testament of pride and honor, from the skilled farmers who cultivate each blend to their roasters that handpick the finest coffee beans from around the world. Loaded Gun Coffee has mastered their unique brewing methods, resulting in the best tasting coffee around. This coffee is smooth and delicious, the perfect way to start your mornings. Get on over to badlandsmedia.tv/loaded. Use promo code Badlands, and you can get 10% off your order. If you're in the Lake Havasu area, stop in their newly renovated store and say hi. That is badlandsmedia.tv/loaded. Promo code Badlands. Stay loaded with Loaded Gun Coffee. I can vouch their coffee is fantastic and great people, longtime supporters. If you're going to get coffee anyway, you might as well get it from a place that allows you to support Badlands Media in the process. And we also have Van Man, the good folks over at Van Man. You know, Van Man taking down big toothpaste with all natural oral care. Van Man's tooth powder is loaded with minerals like eggshells and bone, and combined with pulling oils and peppermint aloe mouth rinse. It's truly the ultimate fluoride-free dental hygiene bundle that saves you 25% off the individual prices, and the van never stops. Introducing Van Man's new Pearl Eye Cream and Sweet Onion Shampoo. Head on over to badlandsmedia.tv/vanman to see what's new. That's badlandsmedia.tv/vanman. And love it when we get the longtime sponsors in the mix. People have been good to us. All right, guys. So like I said, there's probably going to be a little less ranting than I typically do. But maybe not. You guys aren't here to make me salty. I am going to talk a little bit about Epstein, so just beware of that. But we'll see. I did a poll yesterday, and I kind of want to just elaborate on why I did it and why I think it's important to be having this discussion. I also want to talk a little bit about the comments I'm getting from people saying that I am not positive enough for your liking. Maybe I'll address that today too. We'll see. But I do have a lot of stories. But let's start with the positivity thing. Okay, because I've been thinking about this more and more. If you were in your house and there was a fire in the house, like you recognize there's an issue, obviously the issue is the fire, would you be sitting there saying, but yeah, my countertops are awesome? Or would you be like calling the fire department, trying to get people to come help put out the fire? I feel like most normal people wouldn't be talking about their countertops or their patio or whatever when their house is on fire. That is my approach to the info war. Yes, there are good things. We'll talk about some of those good things today. But as I'm not a full control guy, no offense, Richard Rohr, I see fire. I'm going to call it out. And I think Trump sees the fire, and he wants us to help put out the fire. I'm not just going to wait for somebody else to do it for us. That is my take on the positivity. There are other people who will only talk about countertops. They will decode the countertops. They'll measure them. They'll all these things. But if that's all you do, is it possible your house burns down? I think it's possible. I do. Oh, man, I see a stray hair. Other side. There we go. Not being live, I don't have Elf Boy to criticize my hair in any way. So, no update on the Doge website. Silver is at, what are we at? Silver's at $74. Bitcoin, 67.8. Nice. No update on the presidential website other than there's a post up about President George Washington's birthday. And I always thought, I'm not going to read through it, but it's worthwhile. It's an interesting read, good read. He's a boy. The part that I thought was really cool was here. Despite his desire to exit public life and enjoy the fruits of retirement, Washington presided over the Constitutional Convention at Independence Hall and was later unanimously elected as our first president in 1789, serving 2 terms before voluntarily relinquishing power and returning home to his beloved Mount Vernon, setting the precedent for the new republic. But that's something to keep in mind when it comes to how many terms a president can run and what they're going to try to do if Trump decides to run for a 3rd or 4th time, get his 4th term in there. It's unconstitutional. You can't do that. Washington would have ran, who knows? They would have kept Washington there for a long time had he not voluntarily walked away. I don't even know how long he lived after he was president, but you get what I'm saying. See, right now, I just feel naked without you guys. Right now, I'd be looking at the chat, seeing what Spetzel and Scheisler and all you Bathier, see what all you guys are saying about me. And I can't do that. It feels weird. Okay, let's look at the poll that I put up about the Epstein files. And I know some people are annoyed at the Epstein files. I get it. But we have a Hillary story and a Hillary clip and this poll. So we're going to address the pedophile in the room. I posted this yesterday. I should have put it for longer than 24 hours. So stupid of me. But I asked the question, have the released Epstein files actually proven that Epstein was at the center of an elite pedophile ring? And then I said, if yes, please post the proof in the replies. Now, decent amount of views. I don't really care about the metrics. I'm only caring about the metrics in terms of this compared to the number of votes. So it's seen by 5,000 people. Only 484 people voted. I think that in and of itself is revealing. So people saw this, but they didn't want to answer. And maybe they just scrolled past it. I don't know. Can't think for people, but it's possible that people don't want to actually address the truth of the files. The poll results are fairly interesting. 63% of people say no, it doesn't actually prove that. Proof being the operative word here. And that's important. I'm a factual guy. You guys know this. You know this about me. Facts are important. And I agree. I don't think we've seen the proof of that. Not saying that's not what it was. It could be. But we haven't seen the proof. Everything pointing to that being what this was, it's been speculative, circumstantial. And then to see how it's being weaponized against Trump and his admin, that's what makes it more important about what was actually in the files and actually talking about the files in a way that represents what's actually in them. Does that make sense? Because here we have a story from CNN. Hillary Clinton accuses Trump administration of a cover-up over its handling of the Epstein files. Former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has accused the Trump administration of a continuing cover-up in the way it has handled the release of millions of documents relating to Jeffrey Epstein. They're slow-walking it. They're redacting the names of men who are in it. They're stonewalling legitimate requests from members of Congress. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche has repeatedly defended the U.S. Department of Justice handling of the files, saying the department is committed to transparency and is hiding nothing. The latest batch of documents released by the DOJ contains several references to Bill Clinton, offering fresh insights into the sometimes lewd ways the former president's staff communicated with Epstein and his longtime associate Ghislaine Maxwell. Hillary Clinton said she and her husband have nothing to hide. Bill Clinton has repeatedly denied wrongdoing related to the late sex offender. Both Clintons are set to appear for closed-door depositions in the House's Epstein probe later this month, agreeing to the conditions set by the House Oversight Chairman James Comer only once the House was preparing for a vote to hold the couple in contempt for defying a congressional subpoena. And a reminder, the Clintons said they wanted to do a public hearing. James Comer said he wanted to do the deposition. I understand the arguments for both sides of it. I would have preferred a public one just because I think it would have been funny. But regardless, we're getting the deposition. Clinton referenced Attorney General Pam Bondi's testimony on Wednesday as one example indicating the administration has something to hide. Bondi refused to answer questions. She diverted attention away from the matters at hand. She refused to look at the survivors. Clinton said the U.S. President Donald Trump has previously defended his handling of the Epstein files and also said he has nothing to hide. The DOJ has been heavily criticized by Epstein victims and members of Congress since the files were released over the department's inconsistent redactions of names and details in the millions of released documents. Some members of Congress who viewed unredacted versions of the documents later said that the department was protecting powerful men, prompting them to unredact additional names in the files and send Congress a list of politically exposed persons. Now, it is being weaponized against Trump, no doubt. I do not believe there's any evidence of wrongdoing against Trump in there. I don't think they're hiding anything. Guys, there was, what, I don't even remember how long. I'm trying to think of the timeline here. Regardless, they had 4 years of Biden there to release any damning information on Trump. And even prior to that, like when Obama was in office, like there was plenty of opportunity if they wanted to and if it existed to release damning information against Trump to take him out. They've been willing to do almost anything to prevent this guy from being president and to delegitimize this guy in the eyes of everybody. If there was a there with Maureen Comey running the investigation from the SDNY, or I don't know if she was running the investigation, but she had her hands all over this. If there was a there, we would have seen it. I think the best they got was that the poem with the drawing of the woman, if that's even real, if that was even a real thing, if it wasn't inserted, we don't know. That's the best they got. So like that aside, I don't think Trump is participating in the cover-up. The reason I think this question is important and why I think it's so important for people to honestly answer about what we've seen in the files, not what we think it shows us, but what we've actually seen. It's important because with everybody saying that they've been vindicated now, that see, we told you, I told you so. The Q people are being proven right, all these things. If that's not true, you guys are helping the perception that Donald Trump and his administration are covering something up. And yeah, the handling of this has been terrible. Been talking about that since day one, since Bindergate. It's been awful. From Bondi to other people. Trump at every opportunity has been like, yeah, we'll just declassify him, whatever. Let's do it. And then he goes on and says it's a hoax, much like the Russia hoax, which has been weaponized against him. But do you understand what I'm saying? And it stinks that I don't have you here to give me some feedback on this thought process. But this is where I'm at, and this is why I posted this post. Because if we haven't actually seen the proof, and that's an important word, like to understand what that means, like evidence of it, not weird stuff like, yes, these were rich, terrible people, evil people, a very wide network of them. They sent gross, lewd stuff, prostitution. Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein, from what we know, were trafficking women in terms of like she was getting women to give him massages. They were underage. All that's awful. But I'm talking about the elite pedophilia ring that everybody else thinks is there, like this huge network, the blackmail operation, all that stuff. And the reason I'm so like, show me the proof, just show me the proof. It's because if it isn't actually there, if that wasn't actually what this was, like if people are willing to to play with that idea that maybe we've been misled about what the Epstein thing actually was. And what's so frustrating about this is I know there will be people who, no matter what comes out, they'll never be enough. They'll always be asking for more. They will think it's a cover-up. And that plays right into the enemy's hand, in my opinion, because of how it's being weaponized against Trump. So no, I have not, in my opinion, and I've gone through a lot of files. I've gone through a lot of Twitter posts. I've engaged with a lot of people on this topic. I've debunked a lot of things. I've seen some weird things too, but nothing that I would consider to be proof. And we had both Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and others saying like there wasn't anything there to further prosecute. Not saying that I'm not even saying that's not what these people were doing, because it's possible. I just don't believe we've seen the proof of it yet. And if we can at least be honest with ourselves and acknowledge that and still continue to push like, oh yeah, this validates everything we've been saying. Like the mainstream media is now saying that the Q people were right. They're not doing that because Q is legit. Like all of a sudden they think Q is legit. They've understood how do I want to say this? I believe the media has always understood the legitimacy of the information the Q drops and what it was and who was running it. They've known it was a white hat thing. And I believe that too. Like if you can logically look at the effect the Q drops had and see how many people it woke up and engaged. And yeah, I'm not going to get into the decoders and some of the, where it's gone since the beginnings. And I haven't fully read through them. And so maybe I'm speaking out of turn here. But being proven right about the Epstein stuff is so important to these people that they're not even recognizing like, oh my gosh, the media, the people who have demonized us for 6 years are now saying we were right. And they're eating that up. You guys are eating that up and playing right into their hands, I think. Because what if they're trying, like they're using you? That's how I see this. Because you want that validation so bad, and the media is giving it to you now. The same people who've demonized you for so long. It's not because they're your friends. I think they're doing it because they want everybody to think that Trump is covering something up here, Trump and his administration. So again, that's why I think it's so important to be honest about what we're actually seeing in these files. And I know people don't like hearing that. I know people in response to this, let me see if I can find the one. Where's it at? Like here, I mean, this is a valid question. Why are they still hiding close to 3 million email documents? I have no idea. That'd be speculation to me to answer. But that in and of itself is not proof that there was an elite pedophile ring here. Here, why are you so hell-bent on none of this being true? And that's the problem, is questions like this and people perceiving me searching for actual truth to be like hell-bent on something. I'm playing with the information we're getting. I'm not hell-bent on anything except pursuing the truth. And when I ask a public question of whether or not we've seen the actual truth, if people have seen the proof to show me, like I'm getting like called out for that. I think this is just a weird place for the truth community. I just think we need to be careful. I don't want to see our side of like some of Trump's most ardent supporters be participating in a psyop that is being weaponized against Trump. And so if we think there's something here, we keep demanding it, keep saying it's not good enough. Because I do believe in transparency. I think there are people within Trump's administration that are assisting this weaponized narrative against Trump. Like Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, the way the intelligence community, remember what Trump said about the intelligence community, the same weaponized agencies that for 7 years have been conducting illegal psychological warfare campaigns against the American people. There are people there that are participating in bungling, is that the right word? In messing up the handling of this transparency. And this feeds into that too. The most transparent administration in history, how every one of those people were, they were saying that all the time, ad nauseum, constantly. And now those same people are being, like, the way this is being rolled out, it's like, oh my gosh, they're totally fumbling this. What if they're doing it intentionally to make it look bad against Trump? This is going to be something that they will try to weaponize and impeach Trump for, potentially. This among many other reasons. And like I said yesterday, I do not enjoy having to take this route, going against like what everybody wants it to be, trying to be the voice of reason. I don't like raining on parades. But if that's where the truth lies, that somebody's got to do it. And here's where I'm looking for you guys in the chat again. I feel like that Kermit the Frog meme where I'm like looking out the window and it's raining outside. I'm like longing for something. And it's you guys in the chat. But I hope that made sense. And if it did, either let me know tomorrow or let me know on Twitter or something. Because that's what I'm seeing is this psyop against Trump. And by we're, I mean like a lot of people are willingly participating in the op against him. Let's play this video from Hillary Clinton talking about Epstein, by the way.
Do you regret the links that there have been?
You know, we have no links. We have a very clear record that we've been willing to talk about, which my husband has said. He took some rides on the airplane for his charitable work. I don't recall ever meeting him.
Did you ever meet Ghislaine Maxwell?
I did on a few occasions, and thousands of people go to the Clinton Global Initiative. So it to me is not something that is really at the heart of what this matter is about. They are accused, and in both cases were convicted of horrific crimes against girls and women. That should be the focus. And
yes, I agree with that last part about Ghislaine and Epstein. I'm not trying to say, I don't want this to be confused with me saying Epstein is innocent in any way, or Ghislaine. I'm talking about what this has been built up to be, the elite satanic pedophile sex trafficking ring. I'm sure those rings exist. I'm confident there are satanic pedophiles who eat children too, all those things. I'm sure they exist. I'm simply asking for the proof of it being surrounding this Epstein thing. Because if there's one person that's going to be able to actually take out that kind of evil and help us expose and take out that kind of evil, it is Donald Trump. And right now we're shooting ourselves in the foot, potentially, by falling for this narrative and participating in the psyop just because we love the validation of the mainstream media finally doing a mea culpa and saying we were right all along. They aren't doing that because we've actually been right all along. They've known we've been right all along. They're doing it to get us to play into their hands and help with this narrative. That's what I see going on. Anyway, moving on from the Epstein stuff. I thought this was kind of interesting. I mean, we don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but Bill O'Reilly is saying that Trump is allowing critics to define his legacy. And to an extent, I agree. And this goes back to what I said the other day and last week. Was it last week I put out that video asking for my interview with Trump, which I know was likely a futile effort. I don't honestly think I'm going to ever get that opportunity, at least not anytime soon. I'm going to keep trying. But the reason Trump is allowing critics to define his legacy is because they're only allowing critics to have access to him. And they're never going to portray him in a positive light. Conservative pundit Bill O'Reilly on Monday said President Trump is allowing critics to define his legacy. When asked if Trump has the right people around him, the longtime journalist said some of them. But the essential point is this: he is allowing his enemies to define him and reacting to the definition. That has to change if President Trump wants to be considered a great president. That last part was ridiculous. Donald Trump is hands down the greatest president we've ever had. And regardless of my criticisms of some of the issues I see, I can still recognize that. And I do recognize that. Maybe I don't say it enough, but he's hands down the best president we've ever had. We have such a golden opportunity here with him in office. And I think the reason I can be negative sometimes is because I don't want us to fumble the ball. And I don't believe the full control stuff. You guys know that. I don't want us to fumble the ball. This is a unprecedented opportunity for us to actually right the wrongs in this country. And I think he needs our help. He needs more people talking about the fire instead of the countertops. But this kind of reminds me of what Rich Higgins said at the beginning of Trump's first term, the Rich Higgins memo, when he's like, Trump is participating in the narrative space, the battle space created by the mainstream media, and he needs to take back control and dictate the narrative on his own. It seems every day President Trump is feuding with someone else. It does not help him anymore. It did help him and absolutely helped him in the beginning when he was looked at as an avenger, a crusader, but now it's wearing down a little bit. Well, he said Trump has recently scaled down a surge of immigration officials in Minnesota after federal authorities killed 2 people. He's defended DHS Secretary Kristi Noem amid growing calls for resignation. He also faces continued backlash for the administration's handling of the Epstein files. His alleged approval sits at 36%, and I think polling like this is fake. I think it's another narrative weapon. So if they can create enough buzz around the narrative that Trump is like, there are multiple things kind of merging at once, that like they just pointed out, the immigration stuff, the ICE stuff, and how the media has represented that in a negative light. And then you have the Epstein stuff, how that's being represented in a negative light. And so they can easily come out with a fake poll. They're like, see, guys, we're telling you, his polling is so bad right now. Just look at these 2 big issues that people are upset with. And then this snowballs into, oh, look at the blue wave at the midterms, those pesky midterms. Got to opt out and stop participating in the enemy's narratives. What they said there about ICE, though, I want to show. There was a post having to do with law enforcement and their participation. Man, where's it at? Here we go. So when you see scaling back and stuff in Minnesota, what's really going on is cooperation and agreement with local officials and local police is going up, allowing ICE to withdraw from a place like Minnesota. This is from Just the News. Enforcement agreements between ICE and local police climbed by 950% in Trump's first year of the second term. The agreements are legal as part of the 1996 Immigration and Nationality Act, but the Obama administration ended the agreements in 2012, citing racial profiling and other similar issues. Enforcement agreements surging. Analysis by the criminal justice reform advocacy group Forward.us found that there have been more than a 900% increase from 135 in January of 2025 to now, in which there are 1,372 agreements between local law enforcement agencies and ICE. Think of that. 135. That's it. This is a great step forward. Absolutely. The way it should be. Like, it should be required by every law enforcement group or agency. It doesn't make sense that there wouldn't be when it comes to especially deporting illegal aliens. Let's keep going though. Oh, I thought this was stupid. A lot of talk about the Munich Security Conference this last week and how the Democrats looked really stupid. AOC. It's funny watching the left try to prop her up, but when you just listen to her, she is so stupid. But this is what what's his name? Can't remember his name. Mehdi Hassan or something. Whatever this guy. Forget MAGA, Make America Great Again. Welcome to MEGA, Make Empire Great Again. Fresh from toppling the president of Venezuela and taking control of the world's largest oil reserves, which I don't think that's true. I think the United States has those anyway, don't they? Could be wrong. The Trump administration's top diplomat arrived at the Munich Security Conference on Saturday with a rather new and very disturbing message for European governments. Now, this is a funny take because so many people are touting, and I agree to a large extent, that Marco Rubio's speech was pretty badass. was a great speech. But this is how the left is perceiving it. Empire is great. Empire is back. Empire is American. Sounds like a Star Wars trilogy. The U.S. Secretary of State delivered what can only be described as a 22-minute ode to empire, a love letter to conquest and colonialism, a proud defense of the West's territorial expansion. That Secretary of State, of course, was Marco Rubio. In his speech, went way beyond offering the typical defense of U.S. leadership or a muscular foreign policy, as so many of his predecessors, both Republican and Democrat. Rather, he issued a full-throated endorsement of empire. And he did it at exactly the moment of the United States, or the moment the United States under his boss, Donald Trump, is openly engaging in the kind of territorial and extractive imperialism that most Western European governments spent the last 80 years renouncing. In Munich, Germany, of all places, he delivered an encomium, I don't know that word, to 5 centuries. Well, let's look that up. Encomium? What does that mean? Encomium is a formal expression of high or warm praise. Oh, that's what you guys give me all the time, encomiums. Anyway, to 5 centuries of the West's missionaries, its pilgrims, its soldiers, explorers, pouring out from the shores across the oceans. I'm not even going to bother reading the rest of this. But this is what the left does with everything, right? They're stonewalling. They're attempting to derail and stall for the entirety of this term. So they need to paint everything they can in a negative light and misrepresent it. And I do not believe this is what Rubio's speech was actually about. I would highly encourage you guys, if you haven't, to go and listen to Marco Rubio's 22-minute speech at Munich. You will have many encomiums for it once you do. Let's keep going. Oh, and then right on the heels of that, we have this, the dangers of Trump's national defense strategy. Last month, the Defense Department published its long-awaited national defense strategy. Is this old? Oh, it's new. The heck? A practical guide. The pair of documents from the Trump administration deliberately sets out to chart a new path, talking about the national security strategy as well, distinct from the more conventional approaches laid out by previous administrations. President Trump's national defense and national security strategy distinguish themselves rhetorically by adopting a tone that is more muscular, yet is much more restrained in its involvement in international affairs. Thank you. We want that. The Hill. 2 fundamental questions arise from the policy models Trump is presenting before the world. How different are they from the way earlier administrations addressed national security concerns? And do they improve or retard? They use the word retard. The pursuit of America's long-range national interests. I don't know. I can't get over the word retard in here. Anyway, the defense strategy notes, Trump took office in January to one of the most dangerous security environments in our nation's history. Meanwhile, in Europe, where Trump had previously led NATO allies to begin taking their defenses seriously, the last administration effectively encouraged them to free ride, leaving the alliance unable to deter or respond effectively to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. This statement implies that Trump views Russia's aggression against Ukraine as an important matter of national concern. Yet, while he frequently claimed during his campaign that he would end the war in 24 hours, he spent much of the first year of his return to office striving to reconcile the irreconcilable positions of Moscow and Kyiv. Shockingly to students of American history and tradition, he's openly sided with Russia's position, demanding major concessions of Ukrainian territory and sovereignty. And this is what's silly, what they said there. Shockingly to students of American history and tradition. You want to know why Russia's been so demonized? Why it shocks American history students and traditionalists that, maybe Russia's in the right here? It's because the way they've demonized Trump, the way they've demonized the Q drops, the way they demonize anybody who supports Trump, it's the same way they demonized Putin and Russia, the boogeyman. They can't fathom that they're wrong about this. And maybe they can, and they don't care. But it's been effective, and people fall for it. Even people in Badlands believe it. I mean, it's possible some of us are wrong. Maybe we're wrong, and Russia is really that bad, evil group we think they are. Or maybe there really is a common enemy in the globalists and these people, like people say. We got this, odds for Trump's latest approval ratings. We're going to have to watch the commercial. We're not going to listen to the whole thing, but we'll listen to a little bit.
Right now that shows that President Trump is at a low in terms of his approval rating.
I should have played this earlier. My tabs are a little out of order, so whoops.
In this term. So it does beg the question, do people who voted for him, and maybe people who don't vote at all, are they having second thoughts about their 2024 choices? With us now, CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton. There's actually been some polling, in a way, on this, going back and trying to redo the 2024 election.
Yeah, regrets of some folks. Had a few. What are we talking about here? Well, let's just take a look here. Okay, choice for 2024 presidential election. The actual was Donald Trump winning by about 1.5 points. It rounds to a point. But take a look here. In a polled redo between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris in April of 2025, it was within the margin of error, right? Kamala Harris by a point. But look at where we are now, according to an NBC News SurveyMonkey poll. Kamala Harris wins in a redo, asking folks, essentially, if you could redo the 2024 election, how would you vote? She wins it by, get this, 8 points, a massive shift from what we saw back in November of 2024 when Donald Trump won by 1 point. And I will note that this sample was weighted to the 2024 result in which Donald.
Okay, so the reason I'm showing you this, and I should have showed it earlier, I forgot, but again, I think it's important to recognize what they're trying to do here. And they're weaponizing the Epstein op against Trump. They're weaponizing everything they can, negative light, right? Trump is endangering us to the world by, severing us from our allies. What was the other op that I talked about earlier? Why can't I think of it? Dang it, I can't remember it. Oh, the ICE stuff. We have the ICE and the illegal immigration stuff being weaponized against him. We have the Epstein files being weaponized against him. And while that's happening, his approval numbers are coming down. And then you have this story here. I mean, Chris talked about this a little bit on Saturday. Again, all having to do with the midterms. Dang it. Don't do that. Go back. Is Trump close to impeachment? What to know about midterm elections? Calls for President Trump to be impeached are growing amid an all-time low presidential approval rating and growing uncertainty over the Republican Party's congressional fate in the upcoming 2026 midterms. They're succeeding in some of these narratives. Now, whether they can pull it off, I don't know. Whether we get the election fraud exposure, I don't know. I'm hopeful. I'm not going to stand on the rug. But I think it's one of those things we can't stand on the rug and hope that goes the way we need it to go, so that we avoid this. Because if there's other steps we can be taking, if we can be debunking some of these narratives, if we can be participating in the info war, active participants, maybe we can prevent it from getting here at all. That's how I see it. That's why I operate the way I do. And it's kind of weird for a president to be impeached over approval ratings. That doesn't matter. It's not what impeachment is designed for. But trust me, they've got so many excuses lined up ready to go. And then in line with that, we have Thomas Massie. Here we go. Let me share this article. I got to archive it first. All the timing perfectly coming together. Thomas Massie, you're going to see more defections. Thomas Massie, ominous prediction for the GOP. Rep. Thomas Massie has gone toe-to-toe with President of the United States, Speaker of the House, and the Attorney General in just a few of the last months. And he says there's more to come. The Libertarian Republican from rural Kentucky has long been a headache for party leaders. But he's taken it to another level by co-authoring bipartisan legislation that compelled the Justice Department to release vast troves of documents related to the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. He says we're going to see more people start to defect. He was a sole Republican to spar with Attorney General Pam Bondi at a combative congressional hearing last week. But he said for now he won't pursue efforts to hold her in contempt for not fully releasing the files. I don't think it's necessary to proverbial pull a knife right now in this argument, because we're winning it. He said, when the Attorney General is reduced to a stack of pre-prepared insults to deliver, when the DOJ is responding to my every tweet with additional unredactions, I don't think I'm going to change what I'm doing just yet. He also joined several Republicans recently to buck President Donald Trump and Speaker Mike Johnson on legislation that would block some of Trump's tariffs. Again, stonewalling, stalling. And you know my thoughts on Thomas Massie, having never said a single thing or cared at all about releasing the Epstein files prior to Trump getting into office. It is being weaponized against him, and to a degree it's being successful, and to a degree we are participating in it by saying that the Epstein files have validated everything we've thought. But what if we're wrong? If we're falling for the psyop? As Chris says, the point is not to be hoodwinked at all. But all this is going hand in hand. Do you see what I'm showing? See what I'm saying? We're going to start to see more defections. They're going against his agenda. They've hardly codified anything. Congress is worthless and illegitimate. But the perceived legitimacy they do have, they're using against Trump. You just kind of allow it. Tim Burchett might be the only standout. I don't know. I like what he's saying. There's a post he had earlier today or yesterday. I don't remember. Let me get to my Twitter profile because I responded to it. Let me show you this. Okay, so he posted, "We don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem." And he's kind of harped on this, and this is why I wanted to interview him. He had a tweet a while back about like taxes, and I was like, oh shit, I got to ask this guy about why we should be paying taxes. But then somebody responded, "Has the Pentagon ever passed an audit?" It says no. And then I respond, like I quote tweeted Grok and asked it, "Hey Grok, what would happen to a business if it failed 8 consecutive audits and couldn't properly account for about 63% of 3.8 to 4.65 trillion in assets?" That's insane, that number. But this is what Grok said. A business failing 8 consecutive audits with such massive unaccounted assets would likely face SEC investigations, hefty fines, loss of investor trust, stock delisting if public, potential bankruptcy, lawsuits from shareholders, and possible criminal charges for executives if fraud is found. Unlike government entities, private firms can't sustain indefinite failures without collapse. And that is the whole reason we're in this position. Our government's allowed to do it. But they shouldn't be. But yet here we are, and we continue. Come on, I had more stories. I realize I only have about like 10, 15 minutes left. So a couple stories about Trump trying to rig the election. This whole the Empire thing. I'm not going to get into this article, but there's multiple stories on that. Should have had them in order. Apparently, there's something weird going on with CBS, by the way. Colbert accuses Trump administration of censorship after CBS pulls an interview. Host says lawyers barred him from discussing decision to drop Texas Democrat segment amid FCC rule scrutiny. Talk show host Stephen Colbert has accused the Trump admin of censoring critics after they pulled his interview with the Texas Democrat, apparently at the behest of the FCC. Colbert told viewers of The Late Show that network lawyers told him he was also prohibited from talking about their refusal to air his interview with James Tallarico, a Texas state representative seeking his party's nomination to challenge the Republican incumbent John Cornyn for a Senate seat in November. "Because my network clearly doesn't want us to talk about this, let's talk about this," he said, claiming that CBS attorneys were preemptively bowing to guidance from the FCC chair Brendan Carr to enforce equal airtime on a talk show for all candidates in any political race. Let's just call it what it is. Donald Trump's administration wants to silence anyone who says anything bad about Trump on TV because all Trump does is watch TV. The interview with Tallarico went ahead and was posted to Colbert's YouTube page. I understand the logic behind that rule, and he's kind of twisting this. But these are the accusations, like they're going to misrepresent the truth and blame Trump for it because they want him gone. He is such a threat to them. Such a threat. Trump had a lot of posts endorsing people. A lot. I'm not even gonna go through them all. I wonder if there's anything new though. I don't think so. Yeah, every one of those is endorsements. Ooh, except this is new. Maryland, Virginia, and Washington, D.C., who are responsible for the massive sewage spill in the Potomac River, must get to work immediately. If they can't do the job, they have to call me and ask politely to get it fixed. The federal government is not at all involved with what is taking place, but we can fix it. But remember, even in that case, with the Democratic shutdown, we'll have to bring in true patriots to do the work because many are not working right now. Those Democrat-caused disasters, both river and shutdown, will only get worse. The two governors had the mayor of D.C. and the mayor of D.C. must act immediately. This is a radical left-caused environment hazard. With all of their talk about carbon footprints and everything else, they're allowing hundreds of tons of sewage to pour into the mighty Potomac, making it much less mighty. Act fast. I'm waiting your call. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Yeah, I kind of forget there's a shutdown going on right now. Doesn't feel like it. Partial shutdown. I thought this was kind of crazy from Peter Schiff. I'm not a huge fan of Peter Schiff, but what he posted here was kind of eye-opening. PepsiCo spent $2.8 million last year lobbying to keep junk food eligible for food stamps. Was this some of the stuff that the influencers were advocating for? I know there's a marijuana one that like DC Drano got exposed as like taking money to lobby for something. I think there was people taking money for the SNAP thing too with the junk food. I'm pretty sure that was a big one. But anyway, then RFK got 18 states to ban SNAP purchases of soda, candy, and processed snacks. Within a week, PepsiCo cut Doritos, Lay's, and Tostitos prices by up to 15%. The CEO blamed affordability, but the timing tells the real story. SNAP is a $100 billion a year company or program. According to the USDA, 20 cents of every SNAP dollar goes to junk food. Frito-Lay products appeared in 7.2% of all SNAP shopping trips. The moment the government stopped subsidizing demand, PepsiCo had to compete on price. No regulation, no price caps, no antitrust probe. The subsidy disappeared, and the market corrected overnight. Isn't that crazy? Now consider the same pattern. Government money in, prices up, plays out in college tuition, healthcare, defense, and every other industry with a guaranteed government buyer. Federal spending is nearly a quarter of the economy, the entire economy, all of it inflating prices, all of it eroding your purchasing power. Central banks see the same math. That's why they're dumping dollars and buying gold. Badlandsgold.com. The gold companies we cover in our investment, I'm not going to read his gold company. I'm going to read mine, badlandsgold.com. But this is very true, and this is why I don't like GDP as a number, I don't like government spending as part of the GDP number, because it falsifies it to a big degree. If they take our tax dollars, commit fraud with it, but then in other ways, like just spend it on stuff which boosts the economy and prices and stuff, is that really a net win? Should that really be counted towards a GDP, a metric used to like show how good we're doing as an economy? I don't think so. Clear, it's gotten us here, and it's not a good thing. Look at our debt. Look at our deficit. It's insane. Oh, yeah, there's another trans shooting. There was one up in Canada a couple weeks ago. There's one just yesterday at an ice rink, another transgender. I'm sure the Daily Wire is all over that, so I won't spend too much time. Anderson Cooper is exiting 60 Minutes after declining a CBS contract renewal. He's stepping away. Report said he was considered by Barry Weiss for the anchor role at CBS Evening News, but declined both the position and the contract extension, opting not to return for the fall season. He will continue anchoring AC 360 weeknights on CNN, where he also serves as a correspondent. Cooper said working on 60 Minutes was a career highlight, but cited a desire to spend more time with his young children as the reason for stepping away. New Mexico lawmakers launched Zorro Ranch Truth Commission on Jeffrey Epstein allegations. Mexico lawmakers approved the legislation to open the first full investigation into activity at Zorro Ranch, where Jeffrey Epstein is accused of trafficking and sexually abusing girls and women. And you know what? If there's any evidence or proof there, it's probably gone by now, guys. The Truth Commission, the 4-member Truth Commission, will identify ranch visitors and state officials who may have known about or participated in alleged abuse at the 7,600-acre estate. The bipartisan panel will seek testimony from survivors and local residents. Effort follows the Justice Department release of the Epstein files. And we get into that. Elon Musk's SpaceX and XAI are joining a secret Pentagon drone AI contest. $100 million 6-month challenge was launched in January, only limited to a handful of companies. $100 million taxpayer money for a contest. Don't love it. But speaking of AI, Pentagon is close to labeling Anthropic a supply chain risk. There's one post yesterday that I shared. Where is it? I think it's this one, Adam Kelm. Good follow here, by the way. Says, I just realized why the elites are pushing AI into the mainstream so hard. It's a cover story. They can use the AI story as cover for the footage of their abuses and misbehavior. I think it's a brilliant idea. And I know we've kind of talked about this quite a bit, but I don't think I've truly like explored that thought process fully enough. And it's just such a good point. So I thought it'd be worthwhile sharing. What else did I show you guys? I think I just showed you guys this. Anthropic is the one who was like trying to limit what the DoD was doing. Let me see if I can find the quote. Partners must be willing to help warfighters win and protect the safety of the American people. Anthropic's Claude is the only AI model currently available in the military's classified systems and has been widely used, including during January raid targeting Nicolas Maduro. Months of negotiations between Anthropic and the Pentagon have grown contentious over how the military can use cloud. Anthropic is willing to loosen terms, but wants safeguards preventing mass surveillance of Americans. I kind of respect that if that's true. And should the federal government be allowed to just go and do and tell a private company what they can and can't do? I know what happens, but is that what the founders intended? I might not have any other stories. Yeah, think I'm out. Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Sorry I wasn't live. I'll be back live again tomorrow, just from a different location. But I hope you guys have a good rest of your Tuesday. I know I will. And yeah, get yourself some soft disclosure, by the way. Soft disclosure beard brush. Is your beard intentional, guys? Or is it just happening to your face? If it's dry, crunchy, or doing whatever it wants, it's not rugged. It's neglect. Soft disclosure beard oil fixes that. A few drops softens the hair, conditions the skin underneath. It takes your beard from chaotic to dialed in. No grease, no overpowering fake scent. Just clean ingredients that actually work. And now we've added the upgrade, the new boar bristle beard brush, engraved with the Soft Disclosure logo, proudly made in the USA. Real bristles, real control. It distributes the oil evenly, trains the beard. It makes it look like you meant to grow it that way. And here's the move. When you grab a beard oil, you can add the brush for 25% off. But if you buy the brush by itself, it's the full price. So do it right. Soft Disclosure beard oil and the new boar bristle beard brush. Visit softdisclosure.com and level up your beard game. And by the way, I keep saying, take the beard oil, rub it all over your face, and you will thank me. Look how I'm glowing, and it's because of the beard oil. Stand by it. Anyway, thanks everybody. Hit the thumbs up. If you left a rant or gifted subscriptions or any of that stuff, I know I'm not live, so it's unlikely that happened, considering it doesn't always happen even when I am live. But I appreciate you, and thank you for your support. Yeah, we're here because of you guys. And get your GART tickets, badlandsmedia.tv/events. Virtual tickets are going on sale very soon, maybe even today. Stay tuned. Anyway, have a good rest of your day.
Let's get started.
That's what she said.
Oh, that's real good.
Why they stopping me?